Nicholas was a cunning hunter and a nature lover. He had always found solace in the vastness of the forest, a refuge from the tumult of the outside world. Suddenly, the serenity was shattered by the sound of heavy footsteps. His heart raced, and his eyes began to frantically scan the forest, trying to locate the source of the sound. There was a sense of urgency and fear in his thoughts. Who or what is coming toward me? The suspense was palpable, a tension that settled in his muscles. Then he saw her, a majestic tigress. Nicholas froze, his eyes fixed on the imposing creature. However, instead of seeing a threat, he noticed something unexpected. The tigress was limping, clearly injured. Her posture was not one of attack, but of vulnerability. She's hurt, Nicholas thought, a mixture of relief and concern flooding his mind. The instinct to survive screamed at him to run, but something in the tigress's eyes held him back. There was a silent plea for help, a supplication that transcended the barriers between species. Nicholas fought the impulse to flee, feeling a growing empathy for the creature before him. With his heart pounding and curiosity taking over, Nicholas cautiously approached. Each step was laden with suspense, a delicate balance between fear and compassion. The tigress, in a surprising gesture, left her cubs at his feet. My God, what is this? What do I do now? Nicholas thought, feeling a wave of responsibility and empathy flood his being. This story is not just about an encounter with a tiger, but about the profound connection between man and nature, a bond that goes beyond understanding. What would you do in Nicholas's place? This story will make you rethink what you know about nature and compassion. Nicholas always had a special bond with the forest. Since childhood, he had accompanied his father on morning walks through the woods surrounding the family home. Those walks were not just physical exercise. They were practical lessons about wildlife. His father, an expert in local fauna and flora, taught Nicholas how to identify tracks, recognize bird songs, and understand the subtle signs of nature. This constant learning made Nicholas develop a deep respect for the natural environment around him. As a child, Nicholas would spend hours observing the animals in their natural habitat. He had a journal where he recorded everything he saw, from bird behavior to how squirrels stored their nuts. This habit not only broadened his knowledge, but also strengthened his emotional connection with the forest. For him, that place was more than just a cluster of trees and animals. It was a living, pulsating world full of mysteries to be uncovered. Nicholas's adolescence was marked by bolder adventures in the forest. With his father's permission, he began exploring more remote areas, always with a compass and a notebook in hand. In these expeditions, he encountered challenges that tested his endurance and survival skills.
Each experience, whether it was an unexpected storm or an encounter with a wild animal, shaped his character and reinforced his confidence in the natural environment. Nicholas's relationship with the forest was not just one of discovery, but also of protection. He felt responsible for that space, as if he were its guardian. His career as a hunter, then, did not stem from a desire to dominate nature, but to understand and preserve it. He hunted only what was necessary, and always with a deep respect for the cycle of life. This balance between man and nature became the foundation of his life philosophy. Over time, Nicholas's reputation as a skilled hunter and nature lover spread. He was often sought after by researchers and documentarians who wanted to learn more about wildlife. But for Nicholas, the greatest recognition came from the forest itself. He felt that, in some way, that environment accepted him and recognized him as part of it. And this sense of belonging was, for him, the greatest reward. Nicholas never imagined that one day his connection with the forest would lead him to such an unexpected encounter. During one of his routine walks, he heard an agonizing sound that he couldn't ignore. Following his instinct, he ventured deeper into the woods until he found an injured tigress, clearly in agony and surrounded by her cubs. The scene was heartbreaking, but it also awakened a protective instinct in Nicholas. The tigress, despite being injured, seemed to understand that Nicholas was not a threat. She allowed him to approach, and carefully, he began treating her wounds. Using knowledge acquired over the years, Nicholas improvised bandages and applied medicinal herbs to ease the animal's pain. Throughout the process, the cubs stayed close, watching attentively. The trust the tigress placed in Nicholas was a silent testimony to his skill and empathy. The following days were marked by constant vigilance. Nicholas set up an improvised camp near the spot where the tigress and her cubs sheltered. He hunted to feed the animals and monitored the tigress's recovery. During this period, he developed a routine that included caring for the cubs, who gradually began to see Nicholas as a figure of safety and protection. This growing bond was something Nicholas had never experienced before. The event was a turning point in Nicholas's life. He realized that his ability to connect with nature went beyond what he had imagined. This rescue was not just an act of compassion, it was proof of his ability to interact harmoniously with the wild world. Nicholas documented every moment, not just for personal records, but to better understand tiger behavior and the dynamics between them. Over time, the tigress began to regain her strength. The look of gratitude she gave Nicholas was unmistakable. When the time finally came to let the tigress and her cubs return to the wild, Nicholas felt a mixture of sadness and satisfaction. He knew he had made a difference, and that the episode would be a living memory of his dedication and love for nature. The forest had once again shown him the depth of his ties and the reciprocity that can exist between humans and wild animals. About 3 years after the encounter, Nicholas decided to camp in the same clearing where he had found the injured tigress. The nostalgia and desire to relive those moments drew him back to the spot. As night fell, Nicholas set up his camp. But when he went to the improvised bathroom, he made a fatal mistake. He forgot his weapon. Suddenly, he heard a threatening sound. A huge grizzly bear emerged from the shadows, growling fiercely. Nicholas froze, knowing he was defenseless. The bear advanced, and Nicholas felt despair take hold. But before the bear could attack him, the tigers appeared like protective ghosts, confronting the bear with impressive courage. The tigers, now fierce defenders of Nicholas, attacked the bear, forcing it to retreat. The fight was intense, but the tigers, working in perfect harmony, managed to drive the grizzly bear away, saving Nicholas from a terrible fate. The relief and gratitude Nicholas felt were overwhelming. This moment was not just a demonstration of the tiger's strength and loyalty, but also proof of the unbreakable bond that had formed between Nicholas and the majestic felines. He returned to his camp with the tigers by his side, feeling an even deeper connection with nature. With his heart full of emotion, Nicholas watched the tigers disappear into the trees. He knew that this magical forest held secrets and surprises he could never have imagined. But who would have thought that one day he would witness something as extraordinary as the gratitude of 2 wild tigers? And you, have you ever had an unexpected experience like this? Have you ever helped an animal that later returned to thank you in some way? Share your story with us in the comments.